Hello, my name's Matt Heath and thanks for checking out my video today. In this session, I'm going to look at the Kuretake Cambio brush pens. I've got two sizes here. I've got this medium and I've got the fine tip. So I'm looking forward to opening those up. I'm going to pull them out, talk about them a bit, and just do a quick demo in my sketchbook here. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to open them up. I like to do things a little bit neatly, so I've got my knife and I just want to lift up that, dangerously pointing at my wrist there. Just going to lift up that little corner and poke through here. Okay, that's one. And I wonder what the label difference being green and silver versus silver. That's going to help me know which one's the fine and which one's the medium tip. I think there's a large. I think this is medium. Please don't quote me, but I don't read Japanese, so I can't read what's actually on there. But I've done a bit of research online, and I think that's what the difference is. Now opening the pack, I see that there's a little slot there for you to punch out the tip and open it, possibly a bit more easily than I have, but I'm enjoying myself. Okay, I'll get those packets out of the way. Now the next thing to do, these have a thread. You take that out, pull the ring out. That ring stops it from opening in the packaging, and then you just screw the tip back on, and that should punch into that seal in the lid there, unless you take it off. I might have to look that up. Maybe that comes off too. Yeah, let's just pull that off. And I can see that will just poke straight down into there. Now, it's unique to other brush pens. You don't have to squeeze it. Some of them you have to squeeze to get the ink out, but the design of this one is so that it just flows naturally out. I really like that, actually. It's beautifully made. You don't have to unscrew that, it just pops off. So I suppose if you think you won't be using it for a long time, you could put that back on and save it. And I'll just screw that one back on here. Now it might take a couple of minutes for the ink to flow through, so let's see. And before I do that, I'll look at it so you can see if it's in focus. Yep. So that's a synthetic fiber brush tip, which is going to hold its shape pretty nicely. I'll test that out as well as we go. So that's the larger one. They feel really nice, really shiny and smooth texture, like it feels beautiful. I love the lettering down the front, embossed in gold, has Cambio on there, and nothing different written there as far as I can tell, but the only difference is the size of the brush tip. I'll side by side them actually, so you can see what I'm talking about. I can see that ink starting to come through on the one in my right hand, starting to darken up already just by flicking it. So it's starting to come through. Probably doesn't even need me to flick it, but maybe gravity's going to do that work for me. Anyway, I'll just recap them, get myself organized. And I'm back. So I thought I'd just get out a scrap piece of paper and just show you, like I paused the video for a second, but I thought this is just a good example of how long the ink actually takes to come through. So it's coming through quite quickly. You can see it's almost filled that tip. So there's been no issues with ink flow. And that's already quite a nice brush tip. I like the texture. I'm gonna just roll it around a bit just to cover those bristles. What I like about brush pens as well as being nice and fine is the ability to get this sort of this rough texture with it as well. So that's something I like. I've been really excited to try these pens. I live in Australia and I haven't found everything available to me as readily as other countries. So it's nice that I got these to give a try now. I saw them when they came out, when they were first released, and they looked really good. So that one's just starting to come through now. So just a bit of brushing and perhaps a bit of gravity is what's pulling it through there. Yeah, that's quite nice. Still needs another minute and a bit more sketching. But I can already see how nice that's going to be. It's a beautiful fine tip. The benefit of the synthetic tip with these pens is how they come back to shape and you can get quite a nice fine line. There are more expensive pens, which I do love. I have a Kuretake with a sable or weasel hair tip, and that's really, really cool. But the flex is certainly different, so compared to a synthetic bristle. That's really nice, that's really fine. Depending on your style and how you like to draw, I could see this one being really useful for cross-hatching. So I'll just hold them both up. Now the ink's come through. I think this video has been running for almost 2 minutes and they're both happening, so that's pretty quick. That's a good example of how that works. Make sure that's in focus. So again, there's the medium and there's the fine tip. Now, as I mentioned before, these are water-based pigment inks, which will have different properties to dye-based inks and of course alcohol markers. Very different, water and alcohol, of course. But what I just a second ago drew these lines just off camera just to give them a second or a minute to dry. And then just something for us to test out here, and an interesting thing to know is how water soluble they are. I like pens that I can put water into or water over, and I can get midtones out of the blacks that way, but it's not always necessary. So, and it's certainly not a thing that you want, just move my camera, to smudge when you're using, for example, alcohol markers. So I'm just gonna do one right now, or two, just so we can quickly get a water pen across it. I'll do it on the right. So that's a little bit water soluble, not very much. Let's clean my pen off down here. And then I'll test this one that's had about 2 minutes to dry. So that's a little, I got a little bit of movement there with the ink. Now I'm going to test it with an alcohol marker and see if I can drag that across. So the alcohol marker doesn't affect it at all. That one's been dry for a couple of minutes. You watch this one dry on camera. It's a bit fresher, so there was definitely a drop of ink there. So I just hadn't let it dry properly. So that's just it's just going to take 2 or 3 minutes to dry. Even longer is better. Yeah, I can see it down the bottom where the ink is pooled. So I think I could happily draw over these with a Copic marker or an alcohol marker. And also, when I say that, I could happily draw over them and they won't smudge. I just have to let them dry. And I could possibly use a bit of water on them if I wanted to get another half tone, sort of a bit of a grey tone out of it. But they do dry quite nicely, so they're fairly firm and fixed to the paper. All right, next section, I started a sketch yesterday, so I'm going to finish it off and I'll make a time-lapse video. And knowing that I can apply it to alcohol markers, it's really, really rough sketch. And I'm going to do a time-lapse sketch now and test out the new Cambio pens. Okay, well there's the finished sketch. That was pretty fun, and that took me about, I don't know, about 15 or 20 minutes Yeah, and it was great. I used both of these pens. I did start with the larger one and did my outlines, and then I did my, this is the larger one again. And then I finished off my details and all the little sort of fine strokes with the fine one. They're both really, really good. What I love about the pen is the feel of it. It's really nice. I love that glossy texture. It's a nice thickness. It's large, and I love that feel. It feels like it feels like really quality. Feels really, really good. You can also stick the cap on the back of it while you're drawing, and it's got a great weight, and it feels like it's got lots of ink in there, so it'll last a long time. So super happy with both of those pens. I really, really give them a thumbs up. Awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks again. See ya.